Why don't you come on first? What do you think was going on in the King's Chamber?
I think it was energy production. Yeah, there are a couple of interesting things in the King's Chamber. First of all, just how precisely the stones are all laid out, and like you mentioned, the mathematical proportions. You can write whole books on how all the constants are built into those. But there was a massive explosion at the top of it. There's some of the ceiling stones were actually cracked. And that was well documented by a number of different folks, including Robert Edward Grant and other people who have spent a lot of time in those chambers. And there was also a residue that was up there too, that someone actually snuck a little scraping off of those and analyzed it. And it was from, definitely something from like massive heat and that type of thing.
Drew, I have never heard this before. I didn't know about the evidence of an explosion in the King's Chamber. Wow.
Yeah, they're like because the stones that make up that chamber are massive. I don't know, 10 and more ton stones, and including the ceiling. And so there was a big enough explosion, big enough event where it actually cracked a couple of those stones at the very top.
Wow.
And then there's work by this amazing guy, Christopher Dunn, who's an aircraft parts engineer and runs, I don't know if you run across Chris, but he's gone with his precision tools and done a lot of measuring of everything. And he wrote a book called The Giza Power Plant that has a lot of credible evidence that there are a couple of slanted shafts going out of the King's Chamber. They've run robots up there and tried to figure out what's going on with that. And there are little hinged doors in there. And so Chris believes that there were different chemicals that came down in there. Nassim believes that, that basically the Ark of the Covenant was fitting exactly inside of the sarcophagus with a power source in there. And it just feels like a machine when you walk into it, right? I mean, It wasn't built for people, like those little shafts that you have to, especially me, you have to crouch down so far to go in there. And it doesn't feel like a tomb. It doesn't feel like a temple. It feels like a machine. So anyway, that's my opinion. And I know a lot of other people believe that as well. It had a lot of different purposes. I think just based on our own experiences, there's spiritual enlightenment that can happen in there as well. This amazing, so many people had basically astral traveling experiences and that sort of thing in there too. So I'm sure there were a lot of different purposes of it, but certainly it seemed like something very energetic was happening inside of that King's Chamber.